Hello, everyone. So, this post by Lewis Howes really hit home. A lot of his posts have been lately, same as Tom Bilyeu and a lot of other influencers that I follow. And I really wanted to focus on this and share this with you because as I was driving along, I've been thinking about this post and a couple of other ones that he's been sharing around relationships and love. And that's something I'm on the tail end of improving coping with. Okay. And a lot of that's got to do with, first of all, just taking ownership of what you did personally to contribute to the turmoil, whether it's the relationship breaking up and just things going wrong. And this one is very relevant for me. You can't expect someone else to give you love if you don't learn to love yourself first. If you can't give it to yourself, you won't be able to receive it. When someone pours it into you, this is one of the greatest things you can learn to do, is to love yourself first. Now, I was getting that. I had someone who was just into me. And silly me, putting on the hard edge, thinking I was being the man and doing push-pull, and I was investing into a lot of information that I really didn't understand. And what ended up happening is, through the relationship, I started neglecting myself, I started neglecting them, and we just fell apart. Even though we had a son together, as it stands, I've lost that. I've lost the privilege of being a full-time dad, of being someone's man, someone's lover, a husband, ideally a husband, and living and working together as parents, as friends, as lovers in a nurturing relationship, and being able to love ourselves and then love each other and then love our son and just provide an overall just realm full of love, happiness, wealth and health and all those good things. And I wrote this down from the back end of this, that many of us seek the radiant glory of achievement, yet many of us are unwilling to take on the burden of carrying the responsibilities that lead us into the gratification of rewards earned through effort and the self-discipline to succeed. So to touch on this, obviously my weight has just gone out of proportion and I'm not happy with my reflection. And I put a post up recently on Instagram sharing some ideas where I want to just share the whole process with the world, basically, the digital realm. It'll be mainly content will be on Instagram and a YouTube channel, and I'll go into that in more depth when it arrives. But I wanted to focus on this and something else that comes to mind when we're talking about all this self-care and self-love. One of the things that comes up, and let's just go into a little bit of background music here. When we're talking about self-love, is people hiding behind, yeah, but I'm beautiful on the inside. And something to debunk that is this. I'm making a comparison. If you look at a plant and you look at what a plant actually needs to survive, and let's look at a flower. And you want to be that flower, but the way you've been treating yourself, you're actually turning into a weed. And you might say, yeah, but on the inside, I think I'm a flower because, it's all about positive thinking. But what is going on with your root system? Okay, this is about the self-love. So if I have a plant and it's a flowering plant. And I'm not providing the root system to that plant with the love it needs, that i.e. being water and nutrients, composting, the right soil, the right drainage, the right type of sunlight, all the right elements that is required for that flowering plant to be a flowering plant, to maximize its potential, its beauty, its scent, its aroma, to attract the insects, to attract the bees, to help with repollination and to help with seeding and so on and so forth. If I'm denying all of that and creating a false perception, then it's going to die. And that's what's going to happen with you. It's what's happened to me. Death comes in various forms. There's the death of a relationship. It's something ending. There's the death of momentum you had in your life. Maybe it's with success, a business, a job, a career. Whatever it is, death comes in various forms, and I'm noticing that. And then there's the death of that which no longer is of service to you. So it's going through this transition of killing off a mentality, killing off an attitude and a behavior. The emotions are starting to rise up. And it's knowing that, yeah, I feel like shit today. Yeah, I'm sad. Yeah, I'm angry. But it's appreciating yourself enough to go, why is that? If we go back to the plant, why isn't the plant growing the way it needs to? Well, take some time to understand. Did you read about the plant? Did you read the instructions? Are you giving it the right elements it needs? So this is my definition of what self-care is, and it's an energy. And so adding into that, we think, well, if I have a better car, if I have a better bank account, if I have a better body, if I have all these external features, then my internal features will improve, and then it'll be on the outside, and life will get better, and I'll meet better people, and so on and so forth. And to some degree, that may have some validation. But ultimately, it's not the car, it's not the bank account, it's not the way you look. That's ultimately what's going on here. Okay, there's a percentage of all those that contributes to this. The totality of it is you. It's your energy field. So love is an energy. You understand that? Happiness is an energy. Sadness is an energy. These are energies. If you notice when you're in the shits or when you're angry, you're in an angry frequency, energy field, there just seems to be more anger around you, and then you respond to that, you react to that, you amplify it, and it just keeps accumulating. And then there's people who are always happy, like, why are you always happy? You're happy. Because they feed that energy field far greater than all the other energy fields. It's not saying that that person doesn't get sad or angry. I'm sure they do. You just don't see it as much because they've made a decision somewhere along the line, or their environment that they were in, and they were taught, look after the root system better. You've got to look after your root system. So if you look at your body internally as the root system of a plant, you'll think, okay, fuck, I really have been neglecting myself. Here I am wanting to be this beautiful rose, and really I've been treating myself like a toxic weed. But I want people to love me like a beautiful flowering plant. Well, it's near on impossible, because what you're presenting yourself externally is the way you're treating yourself internally, and it's what I've been doing. And the outside of my body is a representation of that, and it's all going to come out. And I want to show people that. So I'm in my mid-40s, and you just can't. It gets to a stage where you're like, well, I did this to myself, so I can undo this as well. So big props to Lewis Howes for being consistent and sharing his knowledge and all the things he's gone through, and the people that he interviews and shares their little tidbits. I mean, the fact that he made the decision to do that, contribute to a greater good, so we can all get benefit from that and contribute to the greater good for ourselves, and then eventually be able to pour that out into the world and then attract that from the world. It just makes complete sense. If I look at how my life has been in the last, 8 months, and I look at the moments where things were just peachy, what was I doing and what wasn't I doing? And the moment you look at what you were and what you were not doing, it's clear cut. You stop doing the things that were feeding the environment that you were enjoying. And that if you were in a relationship, they were enjoying that version of you, and they were reciprocating. And if they weren't, then that's up to you to communicate that. I feel we're allowed to make certain demands in a way, as long as we are demanding that of ourselves. So if you're a caring, loving person and you meet someone and they're caring and loving, but one of you is starting to fade, then it's up to both of you to communicate that, or someone to communicate, hey, I'm noticing things are deteriorating. What is it? What is happening with you? And being able to support the other person to bring them back up. And and you can only endure that for so long. I think that's what happened to me. My son's mom, she was doing the best she could, and I just kept pushing her away. So I have to rebuild. I have to rebuild myself. I have to start from fucking zero again. Not necessarily zero in a lot of things, but my mindset has to change. And it has been changing. My attitude my actions. For me, the routine has been eating when I eat, not really being conscious of it, spending too much money, drinking alcohol when I shouldn't be drinking alcohol, just for the sake of drinking. And even though I go train, because I'm in a low vibration, I'm not able to go in at a higher vibration and maximize my training. So it's almost like a treadmill effect. And that's a cost, and it's an investment. But to me, an investment is when you're getting something in return. Otherwise, you are just spending money. You're just spending, and it's the same as energy, everything. So that pretty much wraps up this little video I want to share with everyone. And I'll just read this again. That many of us seek the radiant glory of achievement. So if we look at it's the glory. It's that good feeling. I did this. How many times have you done something and you were really stoked about it, and you put in the effort, and the self-discipline to succeed, to achieve that, and you took on the burden of the responsibility? And I say burden in a way because burden is the reference to having to carry on a weight, to put something on. You've got to take this on. because it's a challenge. It's not easy peasy. It's not breezy street. It's not always smooth sailing. Okay, so there's the burden of that. There's the burden, if you understand sailing, anything, there's the burden of the responsibility of, and also accepting that you could die out at sea sailing, even though it's beautiful. And it's something I neglected. I was thought, man, I was every day almost going for a little sail, and a little sailboat. And I've got cars, and I've got plenty of material things. But I'm not even maximizing those to get any enjoyment or share them with other people. So sometimes I think that to take on these responsibilities, it's a bit of a burden and we shy away from it. But if you take on the burden, for example, the burden of weight, you start lifting heavy, and the burden of eating correctly, getting sleep, and just taking on to discipline, and the burden of perhaps dealing with the friction of people neglecting or not being able to support your decision with where you want to go in life. So maybe you have a business, contract, or a job, employee, or you're in a relationship that's not going where you really want it to be, and you've been making all the effort. You've been seriously making effort, not trying. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong or don't get it exactly right, is they say, oh, we tried this, we tried that. But to me, try is temporary. It's just a one-off. It's just like a cup of water that you filled up once and said, yeah, I tried that, now it's empty, it doesn't work. Yeah, well, you got to keep filling it up for the water to always remain in that cup. So if you want a relationship to work, you have to say, hey, I enjoy you, and when we were together, we had something. And it fell apart because we didn't do certain things. Now, does that mean that you're not meant for each other? If you're not meant for each other, then I would say you would have never met. You've never been attracted to each other. To me, that's not meant to be. That's what that would mean. You would never meet someone. And I understand things don't last forever and all that. But if you make the effort, you can sustain things. It's like saying, I build a house. Oh, it's falling apart. Oh, well, things don't last forever, right? No, you start to maintain that. You replace the wood, you paint, you sand back, you redo the driveway, you redo the garden. You put in the effort to sustain the longevity of that which brings you joy. That makes sense? So that's the glory of achievement. And there's the burden of the responsibilities that many of us shy away from. But when we take them on, it leads us into the gratification of the rewards earned through effort and self-discipline to succeed. If we go back to Lewis, that plays in the background. You can't expect someone else to give you love if you don't learn to love yourself first. So that was my reference to the plant. You can't expect a rose to bloom if you're not treating it like a rose. If you're not giving it the love that the rose needs. The same as a relationship. It needs certain elements to bloom, and part of that blooming process is the blooming that it exists in you. And there's another saying, hurt people, and I believe that, because you can only sweep so much under the rug. You know, that honeymoon phase when you get together and everything's hunky-dory because you're caught up in this wonderful energy. But eventually your root system will show its true colors. Does that make sense? It would be like, so he would be an example of that. So you have an established root system, and I prune all the I prune that plant down. So you could have a weed and you have a rose. They look very similar, but you don't know because it's all pruned. You're like, oh, look at that beautiful plant, looks so healthy. But as things start to develop, one turns into a rose, one turns into a weed. And there's no way a weed or a pre-established plant can convert into a rose if you treat it like a rose. It's like, I'm just using this as some type of analogy, comparison to all of this. So it's how you treat yourself. Like, what do you want to grow into? And then from there, that's going to allow you to grow other things you want in your life. And you might not need them. That's what I'm learning. There's a lot that I want. Do I need it right now? And do I have the capacity to honor that? And I think that's what's real important. So a lot of people, they come out of a relationship and they fall into another one just because there's a gap. And I get it. Intimacy is nice, affection is nice. Just to have someone there who cares about you in the same room, you're not even talking, but you just know that they're there, and you look at each other and you smile, and in the smile is like, I love you, I appreciate you being here, and I love you too, I appreciate you being here. That's special. But you gotta earn that, and that's something that you've got to be able to look at your own reflection and say that as well, and feel that as well. Like, I love you now. You're treating yourself right. So to me, that's also a habit. If you haven't learned how to treat your own self right, then how are you going to treat someone else right? I think in the beginning you do it because you're infatuated. You're caught in this mode of pleasing. People pleasing. So you'll go out of your way and do everything under the sun, right? But eventually that will wane out because it's not a built-in habit. It's not part of your root system. It's not part of what you've been nurturing in yourself. So if it turns out that actually you're a freaking lazy person, you're a bit self-absorbed, then that'll override. Right. And that's what you'll end up receiving. And I realized that in the end of my relationship, the switch started to flip. And I was like, fuck, wow, this is how I was treating her. She started to treat me the way I was treating her. And I was like, oh, I don't like that. So of course, how do you expect someone to accept that and put up with it? And like it says there, it's like you won't be able to receive it when someone pours it into you. I think there's meant to be an it into you. You don't know how to deal with it. You start asking questions like, "Oh, why are you with me? Why do you love me? Why are we even together?" And then that's another. Now we start feeding another aspect, which I'll go into detail in another video, and it's about basically you're feeding a potential reality, which then feeds an imagination, and then if you put that on set and forget and loop, eventually it presents itself, and you can't say, oh well, I wasn't expecting that, if for the last 3 months, 6 months, you've been acting and behaving and treating yourself in such a way that honors that reality. So it is one of the greatest things we can learn to do, ladies and gentlemen. We must learn to love ourselves. We must learn to treat ourselves as a god or a goddess, as a sacred being, like a realm, like a kingdom. We must be loyal to us, to our own existence, if that makes sense. Otherwise, yeah, we really are just floating through life, and it's getting to a stage where I have a young son who, he's not, he's a few months away from being one, but I'm going over the numbers in my head. Shit. In 5 years, I'll be 50, and he'll be 5, and then 60. I'll be 60, and he'll be 15. Whoa. I want to be around when he, when he becomes a man. Right? That won't happen if I keep doing what I'm doing, and that's neglecting my own self. Okay? So I'll finish on that. My coffee's getting cold. But I want to get back into this, sharing what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, putting it out there into the digital world. And obviously, I'll get better at this. I'll make this shorter, make it tighter. But it appears that long-winded content is trending, I guess you would say, or people are actually starting to pay more attention and are willing to listen, just to get that little bit extra something that makes them go, whoa, yeah, fuck, you're right. And then that stimulates you, and then you start creating something better for yourself, and then you contribute to this digital realm of goodness, of benefit. That stimulates someone else's mind and spirit, and then we create this ripple effect where we're all starting to contribute to what really makes us better, other people better, and ultimately the world better. So thank you for listening, people. Thank you for tuning in. Be good, be great, be brilliant. Learn to master yourself, because when you learn that, when I learn that, our lifestyle becomes better, becomes greater. We learn to master it and everything that comes along with it.